look, the biggest thing that we did was stopping the inflow of people early on. And that was weeks ahead of schedule, weeks ahead of what other people would have done. In fact, other people mostly would probably, well, look, the biggest thing that we did was stopping the inflow of people early on. And that was weeks ahead of schedule, weeks ahead of what other people would have done. In fact, other people mostly would probably, well, look, the biggest thing that we did was stopping the inflow of people early on. And that was weeks ahead of schedule, weeks ahead of what other people would have done. In fact, other people mostly would probably.
You've tuned in to Stranger Than Fiction News, broadcasting live from the dark side of the planet. You gotta love them Freudian slips, ladies and gentlemen. Here, the president is talking about being ahead of schedule in terms of shutting down the flights, which they didn't do. It's been nothing but half-truths and lies since the beginning. Another 9/11 is obvious as can be. And we're dealing with a weaponized super virus meant to kill and destroy. It's a doomsday virus. It's the worst case scenario. You've got an infected president, an infected White House, an infected media, and a whole lot of infected people out there. It is the worst case scenario. Unimaginable, to say the least. And yet here we are. And be mindful of people trying to ruin your air quality during this crisis with a respiratory virus. It's airborne. It infects the lungs. Everybody knows this. Yet every once in a while you get people out here like, what do you mean it's airborne? They told us to wash our hands. Man, they've done everything to gas everyone. And you're going to be seeing scenes like this. Ladies and gentlemen, we got to play the sound of this one. Hold on. You're going to be seeing crazy shit just like this. You know, factories exploding, buildings on fire. And why? Because lung irritation really provokes the final stages of this disease. So be careful of the Clorox out there. Be careful of what you're spraying and huffing, trying to get better. Everything is best in moderation, and certainly don't use the bleach. It turns into chlorine. Use something else. But air out. Fresh air is your best friend. Ladies and gentlemen, don't breathe in other people's air. Don't be huffing other people's smoke. And all lung irritants, from scented candles to perfume and deodorants, will trigger the worst case scenario. And this is why, you know, people are basically going under due to this virus, is truly a lack of fresh air. And in the big cities with all their urban air, they'll get nothing but pollution and irritation and the like. And we're learning, you know, so much about the situation right now. Obviously, it's way out of control. You saw the WHO declare this a pandemic today. They took their time because they had a pandemic insurance with a lot of investors in it. And this is going to cost them a lot of money. But that's besides the point. Let's get into the news, shall we? China syndrome. Boris Johnson summons the tech giants Google, Facebook, Apple, Microsoft to Downing Street to censor videos of people dropping dead in the UK. And so we're going to see more and more censorship. You know, they're going to replace the truth by calling it fake news with their lies and pretending that their lies are authentic. Doesn't get any more diabolical than this. Doesn't get any more sinister. If you're just joining us, let us play the clip again. That is certainly going to send ripples around the internet. Ladies and gentlemen, let's get the video guy on board, shall we?
Well, look, the biggest thing that we did was stopping the inflow of people early on. And that was weeks ahead of schedule, weeks ahead of what other people would have done. In fact, other people mostly would probably, well, look.
Now pay attention to Mnuchin, because as soon as he hears the word schedule and processes it, He's like, he takes a deep breath and he looks over. He's like, fuck. Busted. Listen, watch it again.
The biggest thing that we did was stopping the inflow of people early on. And that was weeks ahead of schedule, weeks ahead of what other people would have done. In fact, other people mostly would probably, well, look, the biggest thing that we did was stopping the inflow of people early on. And that was weeks ahead of schedule, weeks ahead of what other people would have done. In fact, other people mostly would probably.
Project Zyphr. You know, there was top secret documents outlining a super virus hitting this flu season, killing millions of people, that was posted online on YouTube in August 2019, just a few months before the operation went live. And of course, we've been seeing, you know, outbreaks during every election season for the last 10 years, quite literally. Zika, Ebola, swine flu, Sars, etc. Now this. So, you know, they're trying to weed out the crowd. How many people are going to get killed by this is the question, ladies and gentlemen. Let's continue on with the news. Big breaking news to cover. All universities are starting to close. Schools are starting to close everywhere. Pull your kids out. We're getting information that a 2-year-old child in Germany has gone into ICU after testing positive for COVID. This confirms, you know, the videos that we were seeing out there in China where they were just piling in little children into the body bags. And we learned a lot from those videos. And it's basically the reason why, you know, we've been doing reports on this for the last month or so. Because when you were seeing people just drop dead on the streets, you're seeing them just, you know, close everything down, lock everything down. You know, this was no flu. This was much, much worse. The way they were spraying everything down, arresting journalists, censoring everybody. You know, this wasn't the regular flu. And this was on everybody's radar at least, you know, since middle to end January. You know, by the time it locked down in Wuhan on the 23rd, I mean, everybody knew what was going on. And still they pretended like nothing happened. You know, it's like watching, you know, the foreign press report some kind of Fukushima event or Chernobyl, and then watching, you know, your local government say what problem, what reactor, what virus. In fact, they don't even talk about it. They don't test. Of course, there's no outbreak if they don't test, ladies and gentlemen. But children are definitely at risk here. Pull your kids out of school. Italy reports 2,300 new cases and nearly 200 new deaths, for now a total of 12,500 cases and nearly 1,000 dead. It's almost becoming like its own China, really. The numbers are getting that staggering, officially. But unofficially, we're hearing, you know, just the worst of the worst kind of reports. Hospitals saturated. Doctors forced to make life and death decisions, who's going to live, who's going to die based on age or perhaps other criteria. But it's, you know, they cannot save everyone. They can only save a fraction, you know, of the people that show up. They've only got so many beds. And, you know, it won't be long before the whole system is flooded out. And right now they're already starting to burn out, get infected. There won't be much of a, you know, healthcare system left by the time the first wave really picks up. And so, you know, there should have been a contingency plan set up for this, you know, circuit breakers. And instead they just, you know, we're finding them with their pants down on every level. Supplies, research, surveillance, you know, you name it. The only thing they can do now is lock everybody down and bury them alive in their homes, which is exactly what's going to happen, you know, if you don't have enough supplies. And how long is this, you know, storm going to last? They're talking about, you know, this being, you know, a new winter, like a nuclear winter or, you know, a Wuhan supervirus winter. So we can expect 3 or 4 months of just hard times here. And, you know, it might be okay for the first few weeks. You can maybe still go to the grocery store. but it's just going to get worse and worse and worse. In Wuhan, what we saw was at first people were allowed to go out every 2 days, then every 3 days, then it was like once a week, and then it was never at all. And then like the town is now a ghost town. There's hardly anybody left. Millions of people have just vanished. Anyways, official pandemic tips. Review your personal situation. Get prepared. Ask work what their plan is. Get a flu buddy or a small group together for support, emotional support. Yes. There will be disruptions to your life. I mean, this is like now the new rhetoric for the sheeple. Plan strategies for extended period. Here's what it should say. Get tons of guns and ammo and booze and vitamins and minerals and food and everything you can. Next is quit your fucking job. The world is about to end. Pardon the language. Number 3, get a flu buddy. No. Start a Red Dawn crew. The commies are coming. 4, we're going to disrupt their lives. 5, our strategy is to win. We're in it to win it. Ladies and gentlemen, we're here to take our country back. This virus is going to wipe out Sodom and Gomorrah. It's going to wipe out all of these shills, all of these sheeple that were just too stupid to see this thing coming. And, none of the politicians are going to survive. You're going to have the Republicans blaming the Chinese, like Tom Cotton. You're going to have the Democrats blaming Trump, for letting this in. But they're all to blame. There's nobody blameless in this one. If they weren't doing what was necessary from the get-go to ramp up screening, getting people prepared, they don't even know what this virus is. And there's so much mixed consensus from all of the misinformation pumped out by the mainstream media. There's a lot of people out there that still think it's just the flu, that still think that everything's going to be okay. They don't understand the magnitude of what's about to hit. They haven't seen the videos that we've been playing for the last, 2 months nearly. We're about 10 days away from the 2-month mark from the Wuhan lockdown. And, that's when it should really all start to lock down in the Western world. Italy's already locked down. First stage of the lockdown. You can go out to get groceries kind of thing. Let's move on here with the news. Denmark closes all schools. University of Minnesota cancels all classes. Lombardy, Italy, healthcare system has a 9.9 out of 10 rating and ranked in top 5% of all developed regions. So if that region can fall, so can, everyone else. And right now in Europe, Italy and Spain, believe it or not, are rated to have, one of the best healthcare systems in all of Europe and all of the world. And they just got wiped out in days. Now it's just full blown, there's no stopping this virus. There's nobody to call. This has come for them. This virus has come for them. It's come for Sodom and Gomorrah, ladies and gentlemen. Now this is really wretched. You have like the biggest shills, and they're just sneering and will come to order. They're just sneering and laughing at you, during their testimony. CDC and the Institute of Infectious Diseases and the like. A bunch of shills show up, and then when it starts, and they're just getting grilled. How come you've only tested 5,000 people when other countries have, are testing 15,000 people a day? In 2 months, they've tested 5,000 people. And, and then you got this director of the CDC and the like that are just kind of like almost like thumbing their nose at everybody. Like they know what's going on and we don't. It's so reminiscent of the movie 2012 when the little porkies, just get on the private jet and they tell John Cusack or whatever, we're getting on the ship. We're getting on a big ship and you're not, That's the feeling that you get. These people got the vaccine already. And this was, I suppose we should play this guy. He really grills them really good. Let's see if we can do that.
Just made that point a few moments ago. As I've said, I have always, not only with this administration, and Madam Chairperson, you said I serve.
That guy's an Epstein customer. You know, that guy got served numerous times. You can tell 5 times, he says. Wow, maybe 6, probably. No, but hold on, there's a really excellent grilling. We'll play that for you guys live. You can find all of this stuff on our Twitter as well as our website, stfnreport.com. Let's see if we can listen to what's coming next, if we can. This was the U.S. House hearing on COVID-19 preparedness and the like. And what's shocking here, too, okay, here we go.
I'm very frustrated with the federal government. We have not received enough tests. I want to understand why. Director Redfield, over here. The first coronavirus case in the U.S. was confirmed on January 21. At that point, CDC began developing a test kit to diagnose coronavirus cases. The FDA gave CDC emergency authorization to manufacture and issue this test kit around February 4th. Isn't that right? Unfortunately, however, testing did not get underway because of problems with the test kits. Specifically, CDC's Atlanta manufacturing facility had quality control problems. On February 24th, 1 month after coronavirus was found in America, officials discovered that CDC's Atlanta facility was contaminated. Whether it was because of the contamination or biologic problems, which you had alluded to, test kits coming from that facility were flawed and had to be replaced, dramatically slowing down our response. Dr. Redfield, I know you are investigating the cause of the contamination in the Atlanta facility. Is the person who oversaw the Atlanta facility at the time of the contamination still in charge of the current manufacturing process?
This is currently under an investigation at this point, and I think I'm going to leave it there.
Sir, you can't give us assurance that the person who bungled the production process, it hasn't been removed. Recovering from that misstep cost us precious weeks and now months, sir. Meanwhile, the virus spread and people died. I respectfully disagree with your earlier characterization that we had an aggressive response and we had an early diagnosis when 1 month after the first coronavirus case was detected, we still had not shipped manufacturing, or we had still not shipped test kits to public labs. Now let's currently discuss testing efforts underway in the U.S. and other.
Still non-existent, and they still don't want people to take the test. They're just dragging their feet every way they can so that everyone can be infected. I mean, this is like the highest level of treason across the board, the highest level of incompetence. It's just like you can't even imagine people being this, stupid willfully. And I mean, you could spend all day on that. I could be here all day talking about how stupid and how incompetent all of these people are that have been showing up on television telling you just to wash your hands and that everything is okay. And, they know how obvious, their lies are. And so now they're trying to censor everybody. They're gathering all the big tech companies and they're like, oh yeah, we're just going to label these people as fake news. And that way they can only hear our message. And that way people won't be able to think for themselves and they won't be able to make a choice. It's kind of like, their pathetic attempts to rein in, violence out there. They'll put up a sign like no guns allowed. Like you can put up a sign that says no virus allowed, but you know what? The virus doesn't care. You know what I mean? The dark side doesn't care. We're getting all sorts of videos of just how, depraved they are over there. And we're seeing all sorts of Gestapo, heavy-handed tactics, executions, liquidation. And so, they're trying to reassure everybody by saying, oh, look, the cases in China have gone down. They've killed everybody. There's nobody left to infect. Pretty much like in the cities affected, they've locked everything down. It's a ghost town. And they're spraying people with toxic, substances. You don't know what's in these sprays, but they'll be coming, ladies and gentlemen. They'll be coming for you. And here's the latest numbers out of New York. As you can see, 212 in the New York City area, Westchester, and the like. Huge number of cases, and National Guard's been deployed, and they're just going to baby step you into the full Wuhan lockdown. And all of these numbers that they're displaying right now, it's pure lies. Like, pretty much everyone has already been infected, and they're just trying to make it seem like it's just beginning, and it's going according to a schedule. What schedule, ladies and gentlemen? The president's schedule. Listen for yourselves.
Ahead of schedule, weeks ahead of what other people would have done. In fact, other people mostly would probably, well, look, the biggest thing that we did was stopping the inflow of people early on. And that was weeks ahead of schedule, weeks ahead of what other people would have done. In fact, other people mostly would probably.
Yeah, he's the biggest bullshit artist you'd ever seen. And he tried to recover quite swiftly, ladies and gentlemen. Like, schedule quicker than anybody would have done. They bought it. It's okay, Mnuchin, relax. You could hear him sniffing over there. Any case, ladies and gentlemen, we could spend all day on these people. All day. Oh, we've got the most disturbing story we've got to read. We've got to read this story before it's too late, before we run out of time here for this broadcast. But it seems like Matt Getz spent the night at Walmart, at the Walmart parking lot, crying himself to sleep, all alone. Quite literally, this is reported by the Pensacola press, as well as the mainstream press. We've tweeted the links, and we'll.
So why not get tested yourself if you interact with Matt Gates and Doug Collins last month?
Well, I don't think it's a big deal. I would do it. I don't feel that any reason. I feel extremely good. I feel very good. But I guess it's not a big deal to get tested, and something I would do. But again, spoke to the White House doctor, terrific guy, talented guy. He said he sees no reason to do it. There's no symptoms, no anything. And you know what? If there were, you people would be the first to know it. You would maybe even tell me about it. Yes, please.
Well, we know about it. Look at those drugged out eyes. But there's no reason to get tested with a virus that spreads symptomatically. This thing spreads without symptoms. He could be a super spreader, spreading it to all the generals, everybody at the Pentagon, everybody, in government. And so it's not a big deal if he's infected spreading it around, because he's the president, right? So this guy is a walking catastrophe, not because, we like the communists, because we don't, but because it's just plain as can be. Nobody likes being mean here, but I think it's better to, tell it for what it is versus just trying to sugarcoat it and put a cherry on top because you think you're part of like this club, right? There's a lot of people out there. It's kind of like sports fans, they'll wear the jerseys and they'll go to the games, right? And they cheer out, and like when their team wins like the Super Bowl or the finals or something, they're out there like celebrating like they won something. You didn't win anything. You didn't get the bonus. You didn't get the salary. You didn't get the cheerleaders. You didn't get the Ferrari. You didn't get squat. You got nothing. You're just out there like a moron cheering for the millionaires. It's like, what planet are you people from? But we're not going to go there right now. We're just not going to go there. But we do want to talk more about Getz and what happened. And, we talked about this yesterday, the CPAC patient 0 that infected everybody, chief of staff, 2 of them, and, plus many others. But Mulvaney seems to have been the patient 0 at the White House, as far as we can tell, but there's no way to tell at this stage. They fired him for infecting everybody. But then we heard Getz got it from CPAC, and he went into self-quarantine on Air Force One after, riding, in the beast. And here's the report. We'll get into the link, but this is from the Pensacola News Journal. Getz slept in Walmart parking lot to avoid infecting others with coronavirus. As Air Force One rolled down a runway at Orlando Sanford International Airport on Monday, Representative Matt Getz a last-minute passenger on the presidential aircraft, got a message from his chief of staff. Getz, who had appeared at the Conservative Political Action Conference in National Harbor, Maryland on February 27th, had taken a photograph with someone who was later determined to have been carrying the coronavirus. His chief of staff's message said. In the days after that exposure, Getz's itinerary took him to, among other places, Mar-a-Lago, President Trump's resort in Palm Beach, Florida. On board Air Force One on Monday, as soon as he got his chief of staff's message, Getz told someone that he needed to go into isolation. Imagine that conversation. You know, there he is, just like high-fiving the president, drinking champagne, you know, taking a little whatever, and all of a sudden he gets this text message like, "You've been infected," and he's looking at the president. President's looking back. "What's wrong, Matt? What's wrong, Matthew?" All right. And Getz is like, "I gotta go into isolation. I've been infected." You know what I mean? You can't imagine the that moment. And what we're learning is that now he went to the Walmart, into the parking lot, and he just sat there all night because he was afraid of infecting somebody. I mean, he's already infected, in theory, the entire White House, the president's, entourage. I mean, this guy basically, was like a nuclear bomb and just took out command and control all by himself. And that's the nature of this virus. You don't know you have it. You're walking around with it. You're infecting everybody else. And by the time, you actually come crashing down from the disease into the ICU, you've infected hundreds, if not thousands of people. I mean, this virus is so much more contagious than the flu or the measles or chicken pox or anything else. It's crazy. And let's see. Where do we have more information about him sitting in the parking lot? Well, we'll get into those stories. But you just can't imagine, the scene there, to say the least. We'll get into that. Let's see. New York. New York schools are closing as of March 19th. So you got another 8 days, children, to go infect people out there. I mean, it's everywhere, but, just go out there for another 8 days. Party like a rock star for the next week or so. And let's see. Maybe we have something more flattering. Not that one again. You're thinking to yourselves, huh? How about this timeless classic? No, not that one. The video guy is fired. Tired of this video guy. No, not that one. No. I don't think we're going to get it. I think it's disappeared, in fact. It totally has. Nothing can be done. So weird, this matrix that we live in. Anyways, let's continue on. Seattle schools close. This video is rather nice. It's kind of a time lapse of the, of the sheeple coming in. They finally get it, right? They finally get it. They're fucked. They're doomed. They've been betrayed. And all they can do is grab toilet paper to shit themselves with. Pardon the language. And, spread the disease through their fecal clouds. So if you want to get a dose for free, just go into a public restroom. I mean, this stuff travels, with urine, with feces. It's going to get in the sewers and just gas the entire cities, all the cities out there. There it is. Gets slept in Walmart parking lot to avoid infecting others. And it's sad, man. It's so sad. And just a few days ago, everything seemed normal. I mean, they were laughing about it. They were joking about it. There's maybe 50 cases. I mean, look at it now. It's going full-blown China syndrome. It's ramping up. And let's see what I think.
When there are multiple insurance.
So this is Australia right now. It's looking like Wuhan. Look at all these people in the hospitals lining up with their masks and they're feeling the virus. And it's everywhere. And, it's still summer over there. You know what I mean? And if it's spreading around in the summertime in Australia, it's going to spread around in the summertime over here. So this hearing that we were talking about abruptly ended, of course, as the White House called an emergency meeting with all of their experts. So we're only a few days away, more than likely, from the full lockdown. Maybe a week or two at most now. But in theory, we're getting real close, really close. And you can feel that in Europe, certain countries are probably just a few days behind Italy, which has become, the next China. Quite literally, it's exploding out there. And Spain, it's exploding as well. France as well. The UK, the numbers are picking up, and they've already kind of ushered in their laws, their draconian medical martial law agenda years ago. In some places, the UK was probably like about a month ago. They're like, anyone suspected is going to get arrested. So what was this? Now, this translated as bodies are being picked up in like garbage trucks. I think we're going to see a lot of that. People are going to become the new garbage. And you can imagine that they're going to be shipping bodies, discreetly as much as they can through trains and, trucks to the incinerators. So, if you're feeling like you want to be an investigative journalist out there, go find an incinerator near you and just be on the lookout. But you probably don't want to be anywhere near that stuff, anywhere near the cities, anywhere near pollution. You really want to focus on disease management. And that means, getting enough sleep. That's probably, one of the most important ingredients is getting your 8 hours of sleep. And knowing that, talking is probably going to sap you out the most. I mean, this thing is going to hit you like AIDS, and it's going to hit you like mono, and it's going to hit you like the flu and pneumonia and the like. And we recommend, checking out nutraceuticals. Get everything you can to boost the immune system, to flush out the kidneys, the liver, and the like. And, this thing attacks through inflammation. So you want to use whatever you can to bring down inflammation. Everybody's got their trick, but, we probably would, not recommend anything that you would get in a pharmacy in terms for inflammation. And chances are things like Tylenol is just going to make it worse. Normal cough syrup, Robitussin is just going to make it worse. So we would recommend trying to get the natural remedies. And, there's plenty of information out there on that for you. We've talked about it before. You definitely want to get some magnesium, a magnesium supplement, not bound with calcium. And, linked in with B vitamins and plenty of vitamin C, all of that stuff. Okay, so this guy is planning his escape. One of the few survivors. Locking down Italy was beyond anyone's imagination a week ago. Soon you will have no choice. So do what you can now. And this is what we were saying, well over a month ago. I don't want to be here and be like, oh, we told you so. But it was really obvious that they should have been trying to get ahead of this thing. Day one, instead of pretending, like everything was awesome. I mean, it's kind of like they rolled the dice and they just went craps, big time. And instead of just losing money, they're going to get everybody killed. I mean, you just can't even imagine what the blowback is going to be after a couple months of this lockdown, people dropping dead everywhere. I mean, there's going to be a lot of hate out there. And I think it's going to be 1776 plus Civil War plus World War III all wrapped up into one. People are going to want to nuke the Chinese. They're going to want to, take out the trash. And it's just going to go Mad Max. You're going to have all sorts of goon squads coming at you ladies and gentlemen. Crackheads and, DHS and, all of the above. So Sacramento County is calling off automatic 14-day quarantines. It's now become endemic in the community. It's everywhere. There's no stopping it. They're not even going to try anymore. And that's all you can really say about that. And of course, they're going to be trying to make your world worse than it is already. You're going to have all sorts of people trying to pollute your world as this rolls out, and you'll understand why that's a disturbing idea. Because most people are going to basically be, struggling to breathe, and then here comes, the factory next door that's on fire, choking you out on top of everything else, and it's just going to be what it's going to be out there. And eventually it's just going to, people are just going to realize, look, take no prisoners, fuck them all. All these people, all these libtards, all these politicians, fuck them, get rid of them. That's coming. It's coming. They're going to take down the death towers. They're just going to liquidate everything that looks shady. Okay, so yeah, they've given up trying to, do anything out there. The government is not going to help you. The people on TV, they're not going to help you. You want to survive out there? You gotta bring your mindset into the real world. Quit being a spectator out there. Only a small portion of patients are being housed in negative pressure isolation rooms. This is our doctor from Harvard and Johns Hopkins, of course. Designed to stop airborne contaminants from infecting HC healthcare workers. So look, let's read that again because people don't get it, right? This is like the movie Outbreak. This virus is airborne, right? Okay, airborne. Only a small portion of patients are being housed in negative pressure isolation rooms. Why would they be housed in negative pressure isolation rooms? Because it's airborne. Designed to stop airborne viruses from infecting healthcare workers. And even with all the garb, they're still getting infected, right? So, look, we're not going to spend a whole lot of time on that right now. Fear Insight on SARS 2.0 is intriguing, because it's been engineered, ladies and gentlemen, and this was an interesting thread, and it actually includes a letter from a doctor in Italy that's like, if you can stop it now, and the only way to stop it is to shut down everything now. Basically, Japanese have found coronavirus in the spinal fluid of a young man in his 20s. So again, more evidence that it stealth attacks the brain, the heart, the kidneys, the liver. It's like Ebola, but for the inner organs, if you will. You don't bleed out. You don't look contagious. It's a stealth weapon, but it does the damage, ladies and gentlemen. And it basically causes brain damage, and people get like this rabies kind of behavior going. That's how rabies, makes people crazy, is through brain damage, encephalitis. And so, a lot of it's going to look like meningitis or encephalitis, but it's really this virus. In Portugal, a 17-year-old girl got infected from asymptomatic friends, went 3 times to the ER, and even with pneumonia was not considered a suspected case. And of course, today she came back positive. And this is just going to be, what we're going to see over and over again. And of course, this has been happening for the last 2 or 3 months. So everybody's infected. This is going to be so catastrophic. And it's just beginning. They're talking about today in the hearings like, oh, well, it just kind of depends what we do, as far as how many people are going to die. Everybody's been infected. They don't have the capacity to treat everyone. And, it's only going to go, downhill from here. This is pretty obvious stuff. I hope nobody came here for like some reassurance. We're just basically, waiting for the show to really get started and, and just kind of point out the obvious. Look, this is what Sodom and Gomorrah gets. And it's sad, but look, we tried to help these people, over and over again. We're like, hey, lock everything down. The super virus is coming. And, we reached millions of people. And what was their response? Just to censor everyone as usual. business as usual for, the sodomites out there. They want to keep raping and molesting children. They want to keep rolling out their 5G, their vaccines, their fluoride. They want to keep, pushing Sodom and Gomorrah, Luciferian ideologies. This is what they get. I don't think anybody's going to be crying for these big cities. And this is who's going to get it the worst. I mean, it really kind of sucks when you think about it. Millions of people are going to die here. And the like. But at the end of the day, these people had it coming. You tried to help them. They didn't want to help themselves. They just jumped off the cliff like a bunch of lemmings. What do you want to do? You're going to cry about it all day. You're going to stress out. You're going to be like, poor, I don't even want to name names of celebrities that are going to, die. But everybody saw kind of like Oprah and, Madonna take a fall recently, right? So that's all kind of symbolic, glitches in the matrix. Let's see. Oh, here's another one. So this is what happens when you don't have enough supplies, or if you're stuck in a high-rise building where they've, sealed it off because everybody's infected. All right. So it's one thing to jump off a building. It's another thing to demonstrate your suicide like this, which was the plan. All right. So it's kind of like a cry for help, but worse. Coronavirus at number 10. That's Downing Street. Dozens of guests listened to Boris Johnson's Women's Day speech in the same room as Nadine Dorries, which is like their health secretary, and leading the charge against the virus. And she's infected, and she's infected everyone, on the staff. Boris Johnson, probably, people at Buckingham Palace and all the like. And, the assembly, that one girl just took down, she's like the Matt Getz of like, the UK basically. Oh, I can see the video guy has totally lost his mind. We're not sure what this video is supposed to be, ladies and gentlemen. So, but you definitely want to avoid these kind of situations. Secondhand smoke, poor air quality. This is exactly what you don't want to do right now. You know what I mean? And that's going to be tough for a lot of people. It's going to be tough for a lot of people. But fresh air is going to be your best friend. You've got to be so OCD when it comes to air quality. It better be pure and fresh and nothing but it if you want to survive. Deodorants and perfumes and all of that stuff is just going to make you go ICU. Let's see. Dozens of guests listen, dozens of guests. And you can bet like every Women's Day parade, every libtard parade that was going on that day, was a huge super spreader event. So you can't help these people if you want to. This was just like 2 days ago, right? And, this has been going on for like months. And every day it gets worse, doesn't it? Every day it gets worse. It's everywhere already. How delays in testing set back the U.S. coronavirus response, the New York Times, etc. And this is talking about Seattle doctors kind of going rogue and making their own tests for this virus. They had sequenced the virus and they didn't want to wait for CDC authorization, CDC coming back. They wanted to start testing people. And pretty much everybody they tested, which was unofficial at the time, came back positive, and they're like, it's everywhere already. All right. So the numbers that they're putting out there are obviously fake. And right now, of the people they've tested, like 1 in 5 or 1 in 2 people are positive. Everybody's pretty much infected. We'll keep going on. Tony Fucci, an Epstein customer, warns millions of Americans are going to get coronavirus without aggressive action. So they're all now like, here, let us save you. Medical martial law. We've got it all ready for you. We'll save you. The goon squads are coming, ladies and gentlemen. Santa Monica to pay $43 million to settle child abuse crimes. And this was because, of their 5-0 out there. So how many of them, are pedos or, Luciferians? Of course, what did the video guy do? Of course they're going to come out and, and target all conservatives. Oh, what, you don't want to molest children? Oh, you're infected. That's basically their mindset. They're all kooky like that. Charlie Sheen, huh? Look at that. Let's see. Yeah, office is sealed. Oh, where's the toilet paper at, ladies and gentlemen? Where's the toilet paper at? What else can we say? How much? Oh, here's a younger looking George Soros and what's his face from Turkey. The one that genocided the Kurds and is invading the Syrians. Erdogan, yeah. A young Erdogan. He almost looks like a hipster, huh? Oh, here's, creepy fucking Biden losing his shit. And he's like, I'm going to ban all AR-14s. It's like, oh, okay. And he's losing it too, man. Hardcore. And you just can't imagine, how many millions of people are going to be voting for Biden. Yeah, how many millions of people voted for Hillary after everything that came out in the WikiLeaks and the DNC emails and, the Podesta files, the works. And still millions of people, voted for that witch. And millions of people will vote for this creeper right here, even though he's totally lost his mind, because that's how, these communists work, ladies and gentlemen. And, oh yeah, I mean, this one too, another example. He's like, all of our people are working for the devil. That's what he said, basically on air. No kidding. Not a surprise there. Here's the DHS chem suits. All right, and probably can't see the guy with the gas mask anymore. But they all got gas masks on. They all got the biohazard vests and the booties. They all got this gear ready to come. I mean, this is going to be the goon squad, as well as, other types of volunteers. Coronavirus mortality in Italy is now 8%. And this will probably end up being somewhere in the 20-30% between SARS and MERS when it's all said and done. We never got real numbers from China. We're probably not going to get real numbers from anywhere. But 20 to 30% would probably be a very low end of our forecast. And, if this is a doomsday virus, it'll probably kill everybody eventually, which will trigger World War III. And if it's not the virus, it'll be the nukes. Let's see. What's this? Libtards everywhere. New York says cases are coming in so intensely right now. So, every big city is just going to melt down. It's going to go Fukushima. It's going to go Chernobyl. They're going to lock everything down. They're going to liquidate. And, you're going to see a lot of CGI, deep fake, kind of rendering of cities trying to calm, public fears until they really liquidate everyone. So how many people will survive is the question. And, a lot of that kind of depends on how, aware you are of the situation. And not just in terms of, supplies, but knowing what's really going on out there. That this is the epic struggle of good versus evil. That it's the pages of the Bible playing out before your very eyes, ladies and gentlemen. And once you understand that, doors will open for you. The miracle of timing, you'll see it all the time. Quite literally. But, for people that aren't following the rules, they just get snuffed out. And, what are the rules? It's the 10 Commandments, ladies and gentlemen. And people wonder, why do bad things happen to otherwise good people? Go read those 10 Commandments and see how close, you fit to that profile. Are you using the OMGs all the time, just like everybody else? Huh? They used to wash your mouth out with soap for that. Today, it's become so commonplace. Most people aren't going to make it. Many are called, but few are chosen, ladies and gentlemen. Make sure, you're on the right side of the fence. 2 cases outside of Cook County include a teen with ties to McHenry and Lake counties and a woman in her 60s from Kane County. Neither is a healthcare worker or travel to an affected area. There's community spreading everywhere. That's the reports that we're getting. Median ICU in Italy 65. They intubated a 20-year-old man, 3 or 4, whatever's a neonate, tested positive. But here's kind of a rendering. But what we're hearing from over there, it's just so bad. It's like Wuhan, and we could show you some of the images, but it's pretty bad. From the ICUs. Another report that white blood cell counts go super low when the infection ramps up in the person. It's like AIDS. It's like airborne AIDS, and also high markers for heart attack and inflammation. So you really want to, one of the ways that you can fight this off with nutraceuticals is attacking the inflammation. And so you can do that with, different kinds of spices, cumin, for example, or baking soda. But everything's best in moderation. And there is no magic bullet, and too much of anything really will have a side effect. So while baking soda is okay for inflammation, it kind of suppresses the immune system. It tricks the spleen into thinking, there needs to be more acid in the stomach, and there's byproducts to all of that, and so it's not a win-win solution. But there are quite a few nutraceuticals that people should be getting, like spirulina and selenium and zinc and magnesium and your vitamins and the like, and anything that you can do to boost your immune system, lower your exposure to EMF, reduce it entirely, would be our recommendation. To start putting up shielding right now, because there's no telling what kind of hidden signals are being pumped out there right now, and not just by cell towers or ELF towers, but also low-flying planes. You're going to see a lot of weird shit. Tell us if you've seen anything weird in the chat or in the comments, anything, out of the ordinary, different kind of train traffic, different kind of, buzz in the matrix around you. Do you hear a lot of people coughing? Where we're at, we hear a lot of people coughing regularly. It's like the plague out there, quite literally. And it's still early on in the overall, course of this infection, where it's just it looks like a real bad day of the flu in March still today, and it's only going to get worse and worse as community virus load accelerates. And we've talked about that, and we've talked about the importance of reducing your virus load, reducing your exposure, not to get reinfected, not to auto-infect yourselves as well. But everything you can to manage this disease, everything you can do to manage this disease will help you. And what we're learning is, auto-infection of the respiratory tract is probably, the surest way of doom. And that's, just being a little lazy when it comes to laundry and the like. We could get into that, but everybody should be OCD when it comes to waste management. And we'll just leave it at that. Do your laundry regularly, change your underwear a couple times a day if you have to. Make it a priority to manage this disease, and don't make it a secondary kind of thing if you want to survive. Right now, we're approaching this like it's the Washington, D.C. blizzard for a couple of days. We're shut down. This is actually going to be a coronavirus winter, and we're in the first week. So people need to be prepared for like a 3 or 4 month shutdown, and hopefully it stops there. And that they're able to, restart the factories, resupply the grocery stores. People are able to go to work. But how many people are going to die between now and, this summer is the question. And there's no guarantee that any of the stocks in any country will last beyond the beginning of the summer at this current stage. So all the factories are pretty much starting to shut down. They're always going to be missing, some of the primary or raw ingredients. So let's see, and that kind of brings us back to where we were yesterday, we could spend, quite a bit of time on the incompetence of, this administration. Not to be mean, and we're certainly not Democrats. We certainly don't like communists or socialists. But you also have to recognize that the Republican Party is really part of this, controlled opposition, this control grid, this matrix, if you will. And all of these people that you see on TV are part of this they live control grid. None of them are different. They don't get there unless they're demonically possessed, period. And all of them are that way. So that's the first thing to recognize, is that, when you're watching television, you're just watching demons debate each other. That's pretty much, the end of the story. With that said, obviously this is part of a program. This is part of a project, Project Zyphr, kind of like Project Northwoods, kind of like Project 9/11, but on a much bigger scale. And whatever is happening right now and whatever will happen next is according to a schedule. It's already been pre-planned. The numbers that they're publishing on television, the lockdowns, the quarantines. And as soon as they start announcing a cordon sanitaire in your area, that's when the goon squads are going to come in. And, they're moving into that direction. But a cordon sanitaire basically means they're gonna wall up your area, like Escape from New York, or basically that's it. And or like any of the other movies that you've seen where they wall up the infected area. Once that happens, then anything goes in that quarantine zone, in that ghetto. That's a guarantee. And we should bring up the videos from Wuhan that we were able to get. But I mean, the whole town has been liquidated. Everybody's pretty much gone. And a huge city of 11 million people or 15 million people has been reduced to maybe like what looks like 10,000 people. Right, so just enough people are left so that if they come around with a camera crew, they can wave to somebody. But otherwise, they're all gone. And, there's a reason for that. This virus or the liquidation killed them all. And we're going to see that in every major city of the world here in the next couple weeks, couple months. It's really going to get intense. And you've only got a few days to prepare. In places where they've locked down, I mean, people are lining up, spending all day, all night, just trying to get a basket full of groceries. And this is just day one of the nightmare. It's only going to get worse. So you really want to focus on storable goods. And, we kind of recommend, getting your own at a grocery store versus like some kind of kit, online. Like survival food, kind of MREs. You're probably better off getting your own, canned food and rice and staples versus trying to get a kit. But maybe a couple kits can be handy. I would grab whatever you can at this stage, and try to at least maintain, a supply for 5 months or a year. Plus, I'd start focusing on gardening. Kind of things, being able to grow your own fruits and vegetables. And maybe we should do a home and garden kind of thing. Maybe we should do a broadcast just on, how to manage this disease. But, for the time being, there really isn't anything you can do. For fuck's sake. There isn't anything you can do to be fully prepared. But the most you have, the better it'll be. The more you have, the better it'll be. I mean, that's all you can say. How long it'll last you is another question. And you can bet that just about whatever you're planning is gonna go to shit. Whatever we're planning is probably gonna go to shit quicker than we can say, what happened. And they're certainly counting on people, trying to nest and wait out this situation. That's what they're sending the goon squads in for. And so Prepare for this to go really crazy really quickly, and you've had, plenty of time to prepare, more time than most people, so there's really not much of an excuse out there. And I think that people are going to prepare, the best they can. Not everybody's got a huge budget. Not everybody can afford the minigun, the howitzer, the rocket launcher, but if you can, then consider yourself fortunate. There's a lot of people that are going to be writing this out in a terrible way, and a lot of people that don't even really know what's going on. All of a sudden they're thinking, wow, yeah, this might be kind of serious. I better go grab some toilet paper and a couple frozen pizzas, and maybe they'll get like a week or 2 weeks worth of supplies, but that's not going to carry them through this outbreak. So you really have to feel bad for all of the sheeple out there, even the dumb ones, even the libtards that you despise. You just have to feel bad. They've been victimized their whole lives, abused and brainwashed and indoctrinated, and they never saw themselves out of that situation. And then after all of this, they're going to hell. So I mean, it's bad. It's really bad. You hate to see anybody go out like that. And what can you say? What can you say, ladies and gentlemen? I mean, it's a very sad situation. And if you were going to have a real healthy debate about it, there's a lot of things that you could argue. Where the world is going to be a better place without all these libtards, for one. We're going to be able to breathe easier. It's going to be a lot less stress on the planet. They won't be there doing their normal blood sacrifice and killing children and all that stuff. It's just going to be a much more manageable world, cleaner. AIDS will pretty much be wiped out. There's a lot of benefits to this virus. It may take out all the politicians. You never know. But there's also a chance that this may knock us back into, the early 1900s in terms of society. Oh, there's little Goebbels coughing on everybody during CPAC. Got fired, shipped out. But that's the real, Matt Getz, if you will. And then, poor Matt Getz, spends the night at the Walmart parking lot. Yeah, I mean, that must have been a real tough night. I mean, he went from Air Force One, the Beast, to like the Pinto at the Walmart parking lot by himself, like, crying himself to sleep, like, I infected the president. You just can't imagine. So, he should know that Mulvaney infected everybody first, so he shouldn't feel too bad. So, anyways, what else can be said that hasn't been said already? There's nothing new under the sun. These people have been trying to gas you, exterminate you for decades, with the vaccines, the fluoride, the GMOs, the death towers, right? Nothing new, right? These people are out there persecuting Christians. Nothing new. No servant is greater than his master, ladies and gentlemen. If they persecuted Jesus, they're going to be persecuting you. And that's the reason. And, that's our cause. That's what we're here to do, to carry our cross till the very end. There's a church in every town. That's who we are as a country. That's what it means to be an American. I don't know who these communists think they are, but they're not Americans. I don't care what their passports say. I don't care what their birth certificates say. By every standard definition of what, we learned in civics and all that, these people aren't American. They're commies. They're, socialists. They're Nazis. They're evildoers. And they're going to get wiped out, and they didn't even really see it coming. They couldn't do anything to save themselves. They couldn't do anything to save the country. They're the most inept people, imaginable, running the show. And this is what they get. Look, and I think everybody should be able to, call them out for what they are. A bunch of idiots, bunch of, dummies, if you will, if you want to be nice. And, they got what they deserved. They got what they deserved. It's sad but true. And had they been half as smart as they thought they were, they would have been, shutting everything down day one. But instead, they just letting it all in. And so it's no surprise that our country has gone from the happy days, leave it to Beaver, to where it is today, right? These people have just let it all in, all the drugs, all the, the bad influences. They've promoted on television nonstop. It's no surprise that we're in this situation. And look, I think, this community, as well as, many other truther communities, have tried their best to set the record straight, to call it out for what it is. And, we've done our job. Now reinforcements have arrived, right? And we just got to get in our arcs. And when, this storm is done, we're going to come out and we're going to say, Pharaoh, let our people go. America, we should say, Christians deserve a homeland. And America is that homeland. That's what this nation was founded upon. It's freedom of religion, not freedom from religion. You know what I mean? And so we're going to take this country back. If the Jews can have a homeland, then Christians should have a homeland too, right? And, that's what the USA is. That's our homeland. So, we got to take it back. So once this thing, is all done, it'll be pretty easy. Just don't let them, come back. Don't let that snake come back in, ladies and gentlemen. We'll have to leave it there for this broadcast. Appreciate everybody tuning in. This story is going to develop and change. Check out our website for, updates throughout the day at stfnreport.com, or check out the Twitter feed, Stranger Than Fiction News. And you can find the coordinates, all of that, on our website, stfnreport.com. But, this is going to get worse and worse and worse every day. And if you've been following this broadcast for the last month or so, you know exactly what the end game is here. It's going to look just like China. It's going to look just like Wuhan. And it's a syndrome, and you can count on it. It's going to happen over and over again, like Stockholm syndrome, over and over again. And so that's why we've been telling people, prepare for the last stand. It couldn't get any more real than this. Wishing you the very best out there. Till the next time, if you're listening to this, you are the resistance.